As a kid, I was with my dad at an Alfa Romeo meet show, and from far away I heard this sound, and it was clearly an Alfa heading towards us. As it got closer and closer, I realized that it wasn't a model I had ever seen before. It was this weird, square, shoebox-looking car, and it came around the parking lot. I was like, wow, what is that? That is way cool. And what I was actually looking at was an original Giulia Super TI race car. I mean, I was completely in love from the very moment. My name is Dorian Valenzuela, and I drive a 1970 Alfa Romeo Giulia 1300 Ti. My first official car was an Alfa 79 sports sedan, which is a really funky, also very square car, and not exactly the coolest car to have in the 90s in high school. And fast forward many years later, and I decided to get on my phone and look at Craigslist ads, and lo and behold, Bay Area Craigslist, there was a Giulia sedan for sale. An older gentleman who had imported the car from Italy in about 1996 or so. In my mind, I wanted to make the car look like the original race car that I had seen back in the 80s, but I had no idea that this car would just really become an obsession of mine for a couple of years. The car had a couple significant mechanical problems when I got it. It had an oil leak at the front crank seal, and I meant to just kind of pull the motor, swap the seal, put it right back in, and drive the car that same weekend, but no. After that, I quickly decided that I wanted to make this thing kind of a fast little canyon carving rally type car. So I decided to go with a 2-liter motor. Which I modified significantly. You know, I went with fairly high compression pistons. I put together a really nice cylinder head. It has big 45mm Weber carburetors. It has a MSD ignition. Lots of parts that just about doubled the original horsepower. I wouldn't call it a fast car, but it definitely has enough power to have a lot of fun. It's basically a street legal race car, so it's not the most comfortable, it's not quiet. It could be pretty stinky after a while, but it's just a fun experience to take out. And I cleaned up the body significantly. I took out all the trim, took off the corner markers, and I just really wanted to go with a really minimal kind of race car style to the car. I studied transportation, and I was really interested in working on some type of race team. I wanted to design or build cars. One day while in college, I responded to an internship ad that NASA had put out and ended up getting a job at JPL and worked there for nearly 10 years. Towards the end, I actually ended up leaving JPL but working for another small company, and they built the robotic arm for the Mars rover, which is now on Mars, and I got to work on that, which is really neat. Some of my work is up on Mars. I'm also into Porsches, and I owned a 964, which I was looking for parts for. Got to know a fellow who worked at Singer selling used parts. I came over to buy or sell, I don't remember what it was, and I got talking to Rob, who created Singer. He needed someone that could do electronics and wire these cars, but when I saw the cars, I was like, wow, this is right up my alley. This is kind of exactly what I'm in the middle of doing with my Alfa Romeo. I ended up working for Singer full-time, so that's where I'm at right now. Years now, I've always kind of taken on little side projects on the weekends and evenings, working on people's cars. I only have a 2-car garage at home, and it's full of tools, and I just really needed a place to park cars safely and have space to be productive. So I recently moved into this warehouse here. I'm working on a couple people's other cars. Some will be full restorations. People interested in making their cars look something like mine. The most redeeming part of the car is just to see it all come together in the end. I mean, you focus on the motor for weeks and weeks at a time building it. I wouldn't call the car done, but you know, it's about as close as it's been for a long time. It's always going to be a work in progress. I'm going to focus on the interior next. I really want to refine the door panels, make them look better, and I want to build a fancy twin spark motor for it and run it on fuel injection. This is an extension of me, this car. You know, it says a lot about me, and I'm not an artist, but this is kind of my piece of art, something I created. I don't think I could ever get rid of it. I really love this car, and it kind of created a lot of opportunities for me. I actually used it as a resume piece for getting the job at Singer. I'm pretty sure it's what got me the job.